welcome, Gina.
Thank you for having me.
The what?
Thank
That's
you
not
for
a
having
problem.
me,
Yeah. To the Locally to You podcast. I keep saying this. We need to think of a different name. I think I said this to you the other day when we had a coffee. We need to find a new name. Podcasters of it. Something else.
Yeah, I'll have a think for you.
You can
Usually,
have a
I'm
think
quite good at naming
So,
different ventures.
Gina Gray. Is that your last name? It's not a Facebook pseudonym?
No.
No?
No.
Okay,
That's
cool.
me.
So, in the beginning of doing this podcast, I've been inviting people that I have met, engaged with, had some experience in their classes. I've been to your class twice back in the day. And so to start off, to make it easier for me, that's why I reached out to you and said, hey, how about you come along? Because I have also watched where you kind of start. I think I met you at the Deal Beer and Food Festival.
Yeah, many.
And you wasn't doing Muse then, was you?
No. I'd actually just got back from Ibiza about 3 hours before that.
And that's how we connected. Yeah. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, I was working at secondary school then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember because it was a friend and I, we were riding bikes and then we was having a couple of beers afterwards. We wasn't having beers whilst riding bikes. And we joined. What was really nice about how we met is that the Beer and Food Festival was really busy. And I came over, I saw you and your friend, I can't remember who your friend is, but I just came up to you and I said, hey, can we share this table with you, please? My friend's come in and this kind of thing. And you were just like, yeah, no problem. And sit down. And the next thing you know, we're all talking. Ibiza came up and it was really nice. And I'm not saying that people don't do that, but it was nice that you were like, well, these aren't two creepy guys just like coming to try and talk to us or something like that.
Yeah.
We just wanted to sit down and have a beer.
And did you have that thought first before asking me, are they going to think we're two creepy guys?
I think it is something that I don't try to dwell on too much because that's why I would still ask, because I would still approach people because I'm just like, hey, but it also sits in the back of my mind sometimes, and you do get rejected sometimes. And, you sit and you think, are they going to think I was, two weirdos or whatever? Because, we were dressed probably terribly. We got two little bikes with us, and like, who are these two guys?
It was a community thing on the beach. I think that's the nicest part when people come together in unlikely spaces. And that was quite a few years ago. And nice friendships come from that. So I like those moments where you meet people. It's like the dance floor. So I love house music. It's the best thing because people come together. There's no judgment.
Yeah. So your business is Muse Wellness.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a space for people to go and practice different kinds of. Well, actually, let me ask you to tell us a little bit more about Muse, the different categories and the space that it welcomes people into.
Yeah. So Muse, in its name, is a space for creativity. So it's not just one thing. I never say it's a yoga studio or a Pilates studio. It is so versatile. She can deliver whatever it is so that a group of people can come together and share something that builds communities. So it doesn't ever have to be one thing in particular. It could be creative. It could be something calm and quiet. I want to start doing little markets there. So anything we can do just to get people out the house together, meeting up, building communities. But fundamentally, it is Pilates, yoga and sound studio.
Okay. It's the microphone stand. I can see you've got your hands. Are you feeling a little bit? I feel like I've got more space than you. So
maybe.
Move that a little bit, adjust the mic and bring it in
Sound
a little
right?
bit more. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just referred to your studio as she. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why?
I think of her as I do think of her as not just an object. I look after her. I'll take time going in to clean her, purposely, not just she needs cleaning. I really respect the space. she's nurturing. Yeah. That is her nature.
I like it. I like the idea that I don't know what the right word would be. It's not just a space. It's not a materialistic thing, but it's like an entity for you. It's a space, like, not saying it's kind of religious, I suppose. It's like a church is almost, it's a space of passion and coming together, congregation, and sharing that energy and putting it out there, and providing the space to do. So what's your main skill set for the...
My role is Pilates. I deliver Pilates, but I do that in much of a yoga sense. It's Pilates movement, but I do breath work, mindfulness, so I do add that on, which I think makes my classes different. Everyone who delivers classes delivers it in their own way, and that's what my way is. It's very yoga. I am yoga, that's morning, noon and night. Yeah. But I just deliver Pilates movement.
How many people have you got doing classes for you?
The most is usually a Sunday is always fully booked, and that's 20. I can't get more than 20 in the studio, and that Sunday class has usually got a wait list.
Okay, and how many teachers have you got?
4 and myself. And there's 4 other teachers.
Are you all doing the same style of classes, or does everybody have that different skill set?
Yeah, everyone does their own. So actually I'm the only Pilates teacher at the moment, and then there's 4 yoga teachers, and they all deliver something different. Even if on the menu, I always call it a menu rather than a timetable, even if on the menu it said 2 of the same things, they will always deliver it in a different way, because it's always the person who delivers it.
Yeah, I saw on your website that you book a class with the person. So it's not just strictly that this is a class on, but you also introduce the person. You speak a little bit about them on the website. Or is that still on the new website, because you've recently updated everything? Is that still the same?
Yeah, it's similar. I think this is why I do the intro offer the way that I do, rather than like one free class. I offer 10 days for £20, and that gives you a chance to meet all the instructors, to have a taste of all their sessions, because it really is down to who's the right person for me. It's not really I want to do yoga, I'm just going to go and do a yoga class. You have to be in the right environment. Otherwise, if you're not absorbing what's being delivered, then it's kind of counterproductive.
I want to step back a little bit in the conversation to Ibiza, because I feel like this is something that maybe we can relate on. So you're doing, I can't put a year date on it or how many years ago, but yoga has always kind of existed. It wasn't so popular in the UK. You're doing mindfulness, breath work, spirituality. So I lived over in Ibiza, as you know, for several years, and this opened my mind to the concept of all of these things. I mean, I was kind of aware before, but I didn't understand it until I moved there. So there's still quite a hippie following. And I discovered things like ecstatic dance, like we were talking about the other day. And you're trying to bring that here. Do you feel that there's still a lot of people that are not knowing that that's available, what it is, how it works, how it's good for you? Do you still feel like it's in its infancy here?
I do. And the reason why, so not last year, the year before, I actually went to Ibiza 3 or 4 times. I think in the space of 12 months, I went 5 times. And I go there for different experiences each and every time. I take my girls there, and I realise I go there for acceptance. Like, I feel accepted there. I don't ever have to try and not conform, but, you know, I dress the way I dress, I speak the way I speak. I'm very out of the box, as you know. But when I'm there, I can just be myself. I'm never worried about judgment or anything like that. And last year, the one thing I really worked on for myself was feeling that acceptance here. I was like, I have to feel how I feel there, where I'm at home. So I really worked on that. And then that is actually how the first Muse was born, because I had to create a sort of sanctuary where I could feel acceptance, my own self-acceptance, but other people could also come and also feel that as well.
So was you kind of like, you're this type of person that hasn't found a place to do what you want to do, and then you went to Ibiza, and he was like, wow, this is something completely different, and why have we not got this nurturing environment in the UK as well?
Yeah, and I would say it's more so than like a physical space or going to actually do an activity. It's the people.
Okay.
It's the people that you meet and the people that join you all together, where you meet each other and you have these conversations. You're like, actually, I can have a really good conversation and feel myself. That's the thing that I wanted to bring. And I think that's what my space does.
Well, like we was talking about the other day, everybody's got their own church.
Yeah.
You know, so Ibiza had this massive reputation for a long time. It's just a party island, which is actually not entirely true. It's like 10% of the island. There's 90% of it's just beautiful. There's also a lot of spirituality. I mean, it was a hippie island, you know, several decades ago as well, you know. And so even if you want to dance to house music or any other kind of nightclub, that is a church for some people as well. So you found your church in Ibiza.
Yeah.
And then was that what sparked you to say, do you know what, I'm going to, I don't know, what did you do, drop everything and just start a business?
Sort of. I had quite a big transition out of the job that I was doing.
Which was school manager?
Yeah, I was the mental health lead at a secondary school, which I absolutely loved, and I would still do it today if I love being within a school. I do not love the red tape that people come up against to support people in a school. I think it just makes it impossible. It made it impossible for me. So unfortunately, I did have to just leave that job. There was no transition into finding another job beforehand, but it gave me some time to reflect on actually everything I do want. So I took everything that I did at the school. My classroom was probably the original Muse. It was the place that everyone used to come and say, I just need a moment of calm. They'd come in there. So I have just really transitioned that into what I do now.
Mental health is only now becoming something that is being talked about more within politics, you know, because obviously politics tends to mandate education systems and funding that's available to these kind of facilitations. But you was already, how many years ago was that?
So I left there, say 3 years ago, and I was there 6 or so years. So
yeah, so even still, that was still something that mental health wasn't really on the list. I don't know to say, you know, it wasn't really prevalent. But now we are talking about it more. There's becoming more funding, but we also need to look at the way society acts, because I personally believe that a lot of mental health issues is also down to the accessibility to some groups, classes, being able to go out and feel you're not judged, you know, helping reducing the anxiety levels. And you were already trying to combat that by the sounds of it already. And you decided to create a space instead.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, actually, on that note, because I sent you a couple of quid for it, wasn't you trying to do a GoFundMe for the youth?
Yes.
What happened to that?
So that is still happening. It is part of why I wanted to move to the new studio. So my previous one was a bit out in the country. It's an amazing space, but it didn't offer itself for young people to be able to come to without their parents bringing them. And I've done other things in the past, actually, where, you know, if I'd have said to parents, send your kids to me, I'll feed them for free, but drop them off, I'll look after them for an hour, I would have had a queue out the door. But because I said, oh, parents need to be there as well, the uptake for that was limited. I want young people, so teenagers, to be able to leave school and just be able to come and use the space and do a class with me. The reason why that hasn't started yet is, one, I've only opened just 2 months ago.
You've changed premises very, very recently.
Yeah. But that was part and parcel of it. And then I am very aware of myself that I take on a lot. So it's stage 1, open the new studio. Stage 2, just come to terms with everything. And then stage 3 will be, okay, we're not overdoing it now. We can get these classes on. Because really what I would love to do is offer at least a proportion of free spaces to students, young people, that maybe money isn't something that can be used for kids to go to classes. And that sometimes it's a shame. I've been in a position myself sometimes where I think, oh, can I afford to send my girls to this club that they're going to? But who could I be if I have to turn around and say, oh, I can't do that? So for me to be able to offer something without charging is something I'm really passionate about.
Did you only try via there was a GoFundMe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's several platforms for helping out. Did you only try via GoFundMe, or did you look at other information from local authorities, other organisations as well? And second part of that question would be, did you find it easy to, and have you had any help from other organisations to help you fulfil what you were trying to do?
Yeah, no, I've looked it up before. And again, there's so much red tape you come up against. If you want to do this, you have to do this. Then you need to do this. And at the moment, I'm just a one-person band running this show. I do the classes, the timetable, the communication, the admin, the banking, the talking with teachers, clients. It's a 24/7 thing. So to then be able to think, I'm going to put some time aside to sift through all this information, it's not easy for people. And when it's something where I want to help and give back, it does become quite frustrating. But maybe that's something I should speak to a local councillor about.
Well, yeah. I don't know who the councillors are for Deal, but we forgot to mention actually that you're based in Deal. Mm-hmm. I have similar issues myself with trying to, and I want to have all these ideas, I want to do stuff, and then I talk about it, maybe start a little bit of work on it, and then I just feel like I'm on my own, and where do we get help from? And part of this channel that we're doing and part of the platform that we're going to do is hopefully try and find a way to connect, because a lot of people don't follow the council and that kind of thing because it's not cool, and I understand that. So maybe if we can try and find another platform or a way to tell people, like what we're doing now is you're telling us about, what you've done or, what you haven't done, and how we can share that information of talking to your counsellors, which counsellors that you should talk to as well. People don't know that in Deal and other places, there's several councils. Well, several across the district. So in Dover, you've got the town council just up the road, and then you've got the district council, then you've got the Kent County Council. And that
it already puts me off, because it'll be, oh, you need to speak to this person, you need to speak. Yeah. Almost there should be representatives from them looking around. I know we've spoken about this. When someone says there's never anything to do here, there's always things to do. But it should be more the town councillors who have been voted in as representatives looking themselves, how could we do this where we get young people integrated, or older people integrated, retired, or people that are not working? There's so many different categories where different businesses could collaborate and help.
I agree with you. The councillors, it's another thing about how it's kind of complex. Councillors don't get paid. They're all volunteers. They get voted in. The only person who gets paid is our MP. That gets voted in. But for years, we haven't really had someone who's active within the community. And I feel like we don't have one even now. But what we need is the councils themselves. So I was a community development officer for the council on an 18-month contract. trouble is the management that I worked for didn't really like how proactive I was trying to be. I was a maverick, and so therefore the contract didn't really get extended. But I was trying to work on all of these things that you're talking about. And I feel like, and I keep saying it now, we have a new leader of the council and such. I support the community development team, and that really needs to progress in these areas that you're talking about, because there's so many people out there like you that are trying to do good things, and they're doing it all off their own backs. They're doing their own charity fundraising. Like Wayne, I know you're a fan of Wayne. You've met him before.
This actually spurred, you just reminded me why I did that GoFundMe, because I bumped into one of my previous students in Sainsbury's, and he took 20 minutes outside chatting to me, and I hadn't seen him for ages, and he is doing so well, even though constantly he's been told by the school, you're this, you're that, you're not good enough, you're too loud, which is a repeat of what my life was. And to see him flourishing, and he was just on his way to boxing, and he said, Miss, I'm doing this big fight. I was like, I'm there. I'm absolutely there. And I went over and I sat and watched him and his brother and a few other of the boys. They were boxing 7 hours. I sat there and I was just in awe. And that's how I saw Wayne. And it's just so nice that, there are these things that happen. There are lots of different things for young people. And that's why I want to offer maybe more of a holistic side. If students aren't into sports and they're not into this, they're not into that, okay, they might want to do arts and crafts, or they might want to do, I don't know, it could be anything. You just got to think of it and then put it on so that young people feel like they've got somewhere to go. There's always something. Also,
male interaction with this side. So I attended Wayne's sessions, and I didn't know that he was going to do this, but he was incorporating yoga, very basic yoga, into his training. I thought, this is great. We're in a classroom of these guys that want to punch the hell out of each other, and he's trying to say, and it's the same as when you go to gyms as well. You can see like the biggest guys. I'm talking about just guys. I don't know so much about necessarily females that go to the gym, but how many people do very basic movement exercises, which is what yoga is, but more, I know it's more than that. It's breathing, getting into the position and holding it, and the mindfulness of what you're doing and understanding exactly what the body is doing and how it's feeling. Correct me if I'm wrong. But do you feel like there is scope there for more men to really understand that this is good for you? Because it had a stigma before that it was just for girls.
100%. It was actually created by men, yoga, 5,000 years ago.
Yes, true, yeah.
So it's something, like everything, it just gets filtered down, and you have to adapt something to how it's going to get the most people in it. So now you can get yoga on paddleboards, yoga with dogs, yoga with
goats.
It could be anything, and you don't always have to agree with them. I don't really like the one with dogs, but if that is getting a group of people together, that you just have to, you market it in the way that it's going to bring, yoga with rock music for people that love them. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I did that, but it just gets, one of my friends, she's like such a festival goer. She's like, I don't know how you do all that yoga stuff. I'm like, well, why don't you come along? And now, because obviously I do it's Pilates, but now she's addicted because she feels good, because she actually realised that's something I can be involved in, and I'm not put off because of the stigma. But when and this is another thing I saw Wayne do, was some breath work with a young person in the ring. He knew how to speak to each of those people individually to get the best with them, not out of them, but with them, how to communicate with that person individually. He knew that, and I was on the other side of the room. I've never met this guy, but when you do something, everyone will say, oh, boxing's great for young boys, getting frustration out, anyone that's got challenging behaviour, and it is, but it's because they're part of something now. They're a community, and they respect each other. They respect the elders. The elders respect the youngers, and then they show them the way. But any form of movement with breath work where your mind is in what you're doing is yoga. So drumming, like you can't think about anything else when you're drumming, can you? You're sat there in your own thoughts, breathing, counting. That is a form of yoga. For me, that is.
Well, that's what I was. What I recognised from doing it myself is forgetting everything, and I've spent years as kind of a professional cyclist, not racing, but high level cycling. And whilst you're doing that, you're so busy focusing on not falling off, crashing, potentially dying and breaking limbs. Mm-hmm. Everything else is just gone the whole time you're on the bike riding, even when you're climbing up a hill. So yeah, finding a sport or an activity definitely takes that away. But for everyone who's listening, can you go into a little bit of breath work for us to just tell us about the methodology, what's the achievement of doing it? How long you maybe need to do it for? Can you do it on your own? Is it good to come to a class?
You can do it on your own at any point. Breath work, just the sciencey bit, is everyone breathes, obviously, but we're mostly breathing wrong. So if you took a breath in now, take a breath in. So your body came in. So if when you breathe in, you allow your body to expand with your breath, you're going to get more breath in your body. If you've got your shoulders rolled back,
never thought about
you breathe in. So the more breath you can take in, you are slowing down your body because you're taking the more breath in. And then when you exhale, if you keep that exhale slightly longer, your body starts to slow down even more. So your brain and your body will know he is safe. He doesn't need to get out of here because otherwise he wouldn't be breathing like this. So when people sit like this, your shoulders are in, your lung capacity is smaller because you've created less space. And then when you breathe in, you're breathing your body in even more less. So sitting up, shoulders back, you can get more breath in, and then you start to slow things down. So I always talk about this in classes, if you're someone that's susceptible to road rage, notice how you're sitting in the car. If you've got your shoulders forward and your jaw is clenched, immediately just change how you're sitting, unclench your jaw, and just take 3 belly breaths. Obviously, don't close your eyes if you're in the car, but just slow breaths in through the nose, down to your belly, and then let it go. But another time, I would say, when you're making a cup of tea, make a cup of tea. Like, don't do anything else at the same time. Don't empty the dishwasher or answer an email. Just stand there and make that cup of tea. Just breathe.
It's funny because when you told me to breathe, I went like that. But when I was just, while you were talking, I was thinking about how I'm breathing when I do breathe. You do expand. Like when I'm talking, I do expand. But when you told me to do it, I went like this,
yeah.
you know. So yeah, it's bizarre. But what's the achievement? Is it for just calming? Because some people feel like they can get into a kind of hallucinogenic state as well.
Yeah. So there's so many different types of breath work. We actually have someone that comes to the studio, the empowerment queen, Katie. She's amazing. And she'll put you through a breath work journey. When you think about what she asks you to do, you think that's not going to do anything, but it takes over your entire body just by different deep breathing patterns. I don't do that in my classes. I do just more of a grounding breath work, which just slows everything down. And then with Pilates, you actually use a different type of breath work that helps with the movements and strengthening the body. But it's really important for me at the start of every session and the end, when we do relaxation, that we slow everything down and we come into the space. So you're not thinking about anything else. Whilst you're thinking about breathing, if you're breathing in and breathing out, you're also not thinking of anything else. You're just simply breathing. So it's all about being in the moment. So if you can't think about something that has happened or that will happen, you're in the moment, much like cycling on the edge of the cliff, thinking, I don't want to fall off. But you're in the moment. That's what makes it mindful.
Meditative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's meditation without the breathing and then there's meditation with the breathing.
Yeah. I think that's what puts people off is, I don't know how to do that. And that's that. But meditation doesn't need to be sitting down for an hour, not talking and blanking out your entire mind. for, like I said, when it was created 5,000 years ago, maybe longer, but the world was different. The world was different 50 years ago. Now the world is 24/7. To block your mind out on your own is, or sometimes almost an impossible task, but only if you think it's impossible. When you give yourself 2 or 3 minutes in a day, out of I think it's 1,040 minutes in one day, if you don't give yourself 3 of them to just sit down. In the morning, I say, I did a 5-minute morning club, and I would send people every day that were on the club. I think it was like a minute of breath work, 3 minutes movement, and then 1 minute of affirmations. 5 minutes. And I said, if you can't do 5, we'll do 3. We'll combine them all together. But if you can't do that for yourself, that's why anyone who says I haven't got the time, we've all got the same time, but it's how you spend it. So you will have more time and energy if you reevaluate how you're spending it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm with you on that. 8 hours sleep, if you want to have 8 hours sleep, it's still 16 hours of the day. Maybe you go to work for 8. There's a little bit of time here and there to look after yourself. And I think from my personal experience, maybe it's the same for a lot of others, is with some of these things, some people maybe feel a little bit silly. Because I remember one of my first yoga classes I went to, at the end, they were doing omming, om.
Yeah.
And in the beginning I was like, I don't want to do this. And then I dropped my self-conscious programming or whatever. I was like, no, everyone else is doing it, and there's nothing wrong with doing it. There's nothing wrong with being vocal, which then led me on to not being too scared to just be at the back of the class or be in the middle, be at the front, doesn't matter. Forget about what everybody else is thinking, because like we were saying the other day, a lot of people are too busy thinking about what's everyone else thinking about me, but everyone else is already thinking what's everybody else thinking about me, and nobody's actually thinking about what you're doing at all. So maybe some people feel a bit silly.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And usually when anyone comes to my class for the first time, they head straight for the back. And I always say to them, I bet next time you're here, you'll be at the front. And I ask them, can you just watch everyone that comes in and think about what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And then think to yourself, how many times did I say, oh, look at that? Or, oh, those bad thoughts that go through your mind thinking they must be thinking this. No one thinks that.
Yes, true.
No one ever, judges people. It is just yourself, and it's living in that self-judgment that stops you from doing something. And with omming, I feel silly doing stuff like that. But the science behind that is the vibrations in your body are
you really get it deep,
settling everything. If that's something that makes you feel uncomfortable, don't do it. There are other styles of things, other teachers, other classes, other instructors that you could start with as the building blocks to get you into a space that you think, actually, get me to that omming part because I'm ready for it.
I can't speak for all the yoga classes, teachers and spaces in this district, this area, because I haven't researched them all. One of the reasons as well why I wanted to come to your classes, even though it was a little bit far for me to come to, in Fingalsham and I live in Dover, is not only had I met you, and you were already a welcoming person, your space that you created was nice. It was like the space that you want to do those classes in as well, which was really, really nice. And I remember, I think it was before I came to you, I was part of Anytime Fitness in St. James's, and I signed up to do a yoga class, and I've got in there. I was actually a few minutes early, and I did this actually. I went to a Pure Gym Mind class. It was a similar thing. I arrived early because I wanted to maybe meet the teacher and be like, maybe they'd be like, is anyone new here? Has anybody done this before, this kind of thing? Do they know what to expect? There was none of that. It was just like, bam, straight into it. The teacher was kind of a little bit kind of arrogant, kept trying to tell me to take my socks off, but not understanding that the socks that I was wearing were actually sports grip socks and work well on a yoga mat anyway, and didn't like me because I didn't take them off. And I was like, I've come here to try and do some peaceful, relaxing stretching, and I kind of feel like not very welcome kind of thing. But you've created a space that when I came, we chatted afterwards. I think we chatted a bit before as well, which was really nice. You spent the time, which is what you maybe don't get from some mainstream spaces.
Yeah, I think that is where, that's potentially put you off, going back to that teacher, back to that class. And that, again, is just so counterproductive. And it is why I created the space, like constantly seeing, I go back to school environment, you've turned up at this space ready to go. Yeah, I'm ready to learn. Just much like kids turning up at school, you're not wearing the right thing. And then you just said, I don't feel welcome. How I always think of myself as for Muse, I'm not the owner of Muse, I'm the facilitator. I create these spaces so that other people can come in and feel that acceptance about themselves. So it's never about what you wear, or if anyone's running late, I'm like, please don't worry. What is the worst thing that can happen? You're stressing. The whole point when you come is that you're not, stressing, and that you'll leave feeling, actually, I'm so glad I took that time for myself.
I want to talk about how you started the business. Mm-hmm. If we can just take a short break so I can just nip the loo quickly.
Yeah.
So, one of the things, I touched on this a little bit with Wayne the other day, the first one that we did as well, is that one of the things why we're doing this as well is to try and tell people about, you don't need to follow all of these massive influencers and be like, oh, I wish I could be like them. There's people local like yourself who are achieving something, even if you have to, quit a job or, sink your whole savings account into it and this kind of thing as well. But also at the same time, there's been more and more boxing gyms that have opened. There's other gyms, there's more CrossFit people. We could probably do with some more yoga classes in Dover. I haven't checked them all out. There's one that does happen in the art club on a Monday evening. And so do you also feel like we should have some more? But maybe let's come back to that in a minute. But let's start off with, you stopped working at the school.
Yeah.
And then what was your next step? You was like, you had did you have some money? You knew a contact at a place? You made friends with someone?
So at the time, just before I left school, I was yoga teacher training. So I had studied to be a yoga teacher.
Was this online or in person?
It was in person.
Where?
And it was a year long. It was, very specifically chosen. That was the one I wanted to do.
Where was it?
In Norfolk.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So you had to still go far away even to achieve that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could have done it locally, but the teacher, she was amazing, and I connected with her so well because I did a yoga for teens course with her during COVID, and that was online. And then I wanted to do full teacher training, so that's the one I committed to. And but then through that, and then at the start of, before Muse came along, Pilates is better for my body. I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but I did break my back about 15 years ago, so most of my back is
bring it
metal.
in now. Come on, bring it as a part of it now. Go on.
Yeah, just in my younger years, traveling in Thailand, and had a bit of an accident.
Which was doing what? You've told me already.
Yeah, I was cliff jumping, and the cliff, because it was still water at the bottom of the cliff.
And you was also a bit of a thrill seeker then, I take it.
I was. And I guess another thing is I now know I have ADHD. I'm autistic ADHD. So
it was still water.
It was still water, and it was like hitting concrete. The cliff was, I think, like 66 feet. I think it was.
Okay. Did you just not land? Did you go a bit askew and?
No, I guess it wouldn't have even mattered how I landed because it was just deadly still. Okay. But what I've seen now is people just throw a stone,
rock.
Throw a rock in, and it breaks the water. But I didn't know that at the time. So yoga movement actually doesn't help my body. Tell
us what happened when you broke your back. What did you? I know, but if you don't mind telling people what you had to have done.
Well, yeah, it was probably not the most useful place to do it on, was PP Island, where they don't have any cars.
Where's PP Island, Thailand?
In Thailand, yeah. So it was a bit of an adventure just to get to like a mainland hospital. But yeah, after an MRI, I've broken my spine. So yeah, one of the vertebrates had crushed like a Coke can, is the way that they described it. Oh. And I never once felt scared, I don't think. I knew I was going to walk again. There was not a possibility where I wouldn't. But it's terrifying for everyone else. And, the phone calls home was not the best thing. But never once did I think I'm never going to walk again. That just was not an option. And I think it took me about a week before I was up on my feet. You've probably seen in movies where you have to walk along those poles, and I was doing that for a while, and I was like, you have to do this. You have to do it. And then 2 weeks later from the accident, I was back.
But they fused your spine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got 8 screws and 2 poles in my spine.
And you still do Pilates?
Yes.
Which is incredible.
But it's the only thing I can put it down to, is the fitness of my body, is because I do Pilates every day.
When the winter comes around, does it have any effect on you?
It used to. The coldness would create quite a few challenges in my body, but now, no.
Okay. So you stopped teaching, you went to Norfolk, you started training, but in the meantime, you're not working.
No.
What?
So fortunately, again, it's another bit of an out-of-the-box story, but I own a buy-to-let. And I know I've talked to you about this before. I turned it into an Airbnb, and I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. And then once the Airbnb was up and running, I got the opportunity. Well, I saw this space online that had come up for rent, and I wanted to keep teaching teens yoga. So I did set up a bit of a home studio, but it was a bit too small. Saw this space, I thought, I'm going to go and have a look. And when I got up there was actually 2 spaces, but they were separated. And I said, oh, would that wall come down? And he was like, yeah.
It was kind of like a barn, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was just a breeze block barn at the back of the Crown Inn in Finglesham. And they were absolutely amazing at helping me set the original Muse up. I couldn't thank them enough. And I didn't really speak to anyone about it, because I know that people would say, you're crazy. No. But I knew that actually having an Airbnb, very quickly that proved that just was not for me, because of the way I am, the ever-changing things, and, I need routine. It was not for me. So, but obviously I was fortunate enough that I do have that. And I started work on this little barn and transformed it. It took me 6 weeks and no money. I created everything that I could. I took everything out of my house. So my house was bare, but it is more of an extension of me. When you look at Muse, that is how my house is, how I am as a person.
Do you want to watch the video of it? That's the one you sent, Alfie, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Creation of it.
How it started. Is there volume, Alf? What was the tin of beans then? Was that your diet?
It was. I lived off Deliciously Ella cereal. I never dropped my diet the whole time. See
a little stone Buddha head in the background there. See, we got one for you from Alf's.
I know, I do really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But
funny. What happened? Did we lose the Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi. Oh.
But just even when I look at that now, and that's nearly 2 years ago, that video.
Well, we can add that in, can't we, Alf?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll add that in. So
I still look at that now, and I know that was like the first time I felt really proud of myself, like standing in there. Even though when I took my 2 girls there, And they did see it at the beginning, and they came at the end, and I said, well, what do you think? And they went, well, this is just what you do, isn't it? And it is what I do. You know, I look at a space and I think, how do I want this to feel? And that is sort of my thing that I do. But
I'm smiling as you're telling me this, because I've set up a couple of businesses myself, exactly like what you're saying, next to no money, put the work in. My second business, actually, I had a lot of help from a couple of other friends as well. Actually, they become business partners, but there was still a lot of bloody hard work into doing it. So yeah, I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah. Well, but back to the stone Buddha head, I feel like we've got to talk about, first of all, we are trying to bring in different decorations that we're going to try and do as best we can to represent what people are doing. And just in case Wayne's listening, I don't want them to think that we thought Darth Vader represented Wayne and that he's trying to build a Death Star and blow up different planets. But also, we kept this up again because you sold this, and Alfie didn't even know. He sold it to his dad. Is that right?
I did, yeah. So it was quite fun when was it on Lisa's episode? I saw it in the background. I was like, that looks like, no, it is. But that actually came from the Airbnb. So even that, I turned the house into a bit of a concept house. Okay. I enjoyed making the spaces, but yeah, it just, for me, just was not for me at all. Perfect.
We need to get you a microphone now. So every time you're joking, because people have said we can't hear Alfie in the back. We've got to get him a microphone.
And he needs to be on this side as well, I think. The thing, even, and I've thought about this a few times whilst we've been talking, the things that you've done with Art Club, it's not just a music space. Like you said, there's yoga here. There's the running club, and I see that online. You've brought people together.
Well, I'm not actually part of the Art Club.
No, but I know Alfie can't...
But Alfie doesn't want to be on camera. He keeps telling me, I don't want to be on camera.
But it's amazing where you think, some people would be, another bar opening in the town. Good on you. Because actually shops, unfortunately, you know, when they sell products, you can go online and you can buy products cheaper elsewhere. But what, not that I'm suggesting people do that, but what you can't do is build in-person communities. Yeah. But with coffee shops, bars, that kind of thing, that is what you're doing. You're getting people out again, being together. It
is quite a special place. Travis has agreed to actually come and sit in the chair. So we are going to get Travis in one day. We've got a list of people already. We might have to step it up to one a week now just to try and get through the amount of people that have agreed to come on, which is quite nice.
That's good.
But we digress. Yeah. Anyway, you built Finglesham Hub and you had that. You didn't actually have that for very long, though, really, was it?
No. So I opened in the June. So it was about 2 years ago I got the keys for that. And then I saw this new space that I've got online. And I kept toing and throwing. There was no need for me to move from the original Muse. I knew that I'd just got to a place where everything was feeling quite calm, and classes were going really well, but they were getting, like, my classes too busy for the space, which is brilliant. But I kept having it in my mind about helping young people. And then when I met Sainsbury's, or the young person at Sainsbury's, if I can't mention his name, but that feeling that I got, seeing how well that young person is doing in his life, I realised that I've done everything I can now to heal myself from that transition. And it took a lot of work from transitioning from the school. I felt well. I'd created the space, proved that the space could work. Now is my time to be able to start giving back. Otherwise, I'm not doing what my sole purpose is.
How did you find the new premises? Because it's a bit obscure.
It is.
It's around the back of a garage.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Last week we was going to come, but you unfortunately had a bit of an accident, so we had to cancel the class. Yeah. But how did you find the new place?
Well, I don't know what I was looking for online, because I never really do that. But I do sometimes look at commercial spaces.
Oh, okay. So it was advertised as a commercial space to let.
Yeah. And then I saw it and I thought, that's a studio. How has someone not taken that up? And I was like, oh no, I can't, put myself through that again. I'll just go and have a little look. So in I went. I was like, I just have to do it. And more so because I thought if I didn't, someone else would, and being quite far out, it would have made it tricky for business potentially, like for my own classes. But I really wanted to put on early morning classes, 7 o'clock, and I just couldn't do that at Fingalsham,
Right.
Because it just eats into people's time that they could give to a class. But now I started with 2 7 a.m. classes, and now I've just put on a third. They're actually my busiest classes because people, I guess I can get up and move, and I've still got plenty of time to, get up and be ready for work. But they've done their wellness for the day.
Still got space for more people to come and join your classes?
Yeah.
That's good.
But I will always put on more and more, just to be part of the community as well. It's not just for everyone else. It's for me. It's healed me being part of this.
Any plans to expand further than Deal?
Yes, I would love to do that. Only if it doesn't take away. I'm very mindful, like I said, with my own limitations, with the autistic ADHD. It's something that, I have to really put as a priority, because I do get burnt out. I do take on too much, and then I don't want to ever let people down. But I would love to open other spaces just purely because I know that it works at bringing people together.
I want to ask you a little bit more about ADHD and neurodivergent. Would that be the right?
Yeah, neurodiversity, yeah.
Diversity. But first of all, where did the word muse, why did you pick muse? Because muse has, it's normally a meaning of inspiring, doesn't it? To be someone's muse or to have a muse or something. Where did you say where you got the name from?
So actually in the Airbnb, I had the muse room, and then I had images of women that have really inspired me, mainly like fashion and music. But I noticed that the people that I'm drawn to and have the like a really good connection with is when they are inspiring me to either be creative or to learn something. And it just really lent itself well. Muse, like I said earlier, is a creative space, but also to muse on something is to think to yourself.
Oh, okay. I didn't get it from that perspective before. So, as you mentioned before about ADHD, you also told me that you like to start your day at 5 a.m. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, 2-part question. How do you start your day from 5 a.m. into when you actually start teaching? And do you find time to actually relax your own mind? And is that a struggle at all?
Now, because of the combination, I'll be very transparent. I do have ADHD medication. I know a lot of people kind of are against that, but actually...
A lot of people against it?
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, it's got a stigma, much like, say, maybe even antidepressants. There's a stigma against that. But, when you think of actually what the side effects are of not gaining help sometimes, it's a lot worse than, that stepping stone. So for me, I knew I wanted to try it. If it didn't work, I wouldn't take it. But thankfully it did. And it really meant that I had a bit of grounding in my life for the first time.
Do you want to tell us what it is that you take?
Yeah, it's just... It's actually a form of speed, really. So
it's like an amphetamine.
Yeah, so okay. I have to take speed to slow my brain down.
Oh, that's counter to what it's meant to do, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's why a lot of people that are neurodivergent are, addicts to certain things, substances, whether that might be alcohol, drugs.
I think that's the stigma, is more the reliance and addiction to some of these things. A lot of different kind of drugs in many forms are okay if you're not reliant on them. So I think I get what you mean maybe with certain stigmas, but if you're in control, would you say you're not reliant as such?
I'm reliant on it in the way that actually it's really helped me feel part of my life rather than having a real chaotic life. And some days I feel like this, some days I feel like that. It's actually much more level playing field, like with 5 a.m. So if that pre-ADHD meds, I would be able to get really excited about something. I would do it for a period of time, then I'd never do it again. And then it would be on to the next thing, and then on to the next thing. And that is just something that, you can't control at all. Now I've got a lot more control of actually, these are the things I know that helps me and makes me feel good. So do I want to get up at 5 o'clock every morning? At the beginning, no. But now I know actually how much it helps. And it all started from during lockdown, obviously being in a house where, we couldn't go outside. I'm trying to do my own Pilates at home and the kids are there and it's just chaos. So where can I find extra time to do that? Okay, I'll take some time at the beginning of the day. I'll get up earlier. Oh, and then I'll get up a little bit more earlier. And then I found that actually having that time, that 2 hours on my own. So like you said, when do I find my own time? Just because I do Pilates every single day at work doesn't mean that, that's for me. So I make my own time. So I do my own Pilates, my own breath work, journaling.
That's good, because there's a saying like a mechanic doesn't fix their own car. you
Yeah.
know, but even though you're teaching it, you're still doing it for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. So when I was teaching yoga, I actually found that it took away what yoga did for me. Right. And I sort of lost the love for it for a while. And now obviously I teach Pilates, but I still do yoga myself at home. But when you do things, like you said, cleaners, maybe their house isn't clean, or builders, there's loads of building work that needs doing.
Yeah.
When it's something, that's how genuine I am about how I know it helps me. I make the time. It's not just for work, it is just my life. Even when I go on holiday, I make the time to do it.
So, oh, excuse me. Excuse me. When it comes to starting your day, because we talked a little bit about food as well the other day as well. What do you have for breakfast?
So it varies really, the time of day I have breakfast, but it's not something I would start my day with. So what do you want to know from 5 a.m.?
If you want, yeah. It's just more like what fuels you kind of thing.
What fuels me, so that's what I thought you were getting at. So what fuels me is starting with breath work, starting with some movement, and then going on to journaling. And then when I've done that, then I'll have something to eat, or maybe I'll go and do a class if it's 7 o'clock and I'll come back. I'm really loving it at the moment. I have breakfast with my youngest daughter every day because the eldest one's already off to school. But we take time, another mindfulness thing, cooking together, and then we'll eat together and talk about that. But I'm not one for, I'm very particular about what I eat and drink. And some people will find that really fussy. But for instance, I talk about it all the time, tap water. When you're neurodivergent, so myself, anything with lots of heavy metals in can really impact your health physically, but your health mentally. And water is one of those things, processed food, one of those things. The hormones that they put into cows to get them to keep producing milk, that affects everyone, if you're drinking that. So I just stay away as much as possible. And some people will think it sounds fussy, but, for me, I don't stop eating.
Fruit, no?
Yeah, no, I do eat fruit. Yeah, veg, lots of veg. I didn't eat meat for a long time. I have started eating meat again now, more so from the physical, it helps. I do a lot of classes, so meat has helped, like the protein side of things. But that wasn't because of, ethical reasons. I don't want that to sound bad, but I wasn't a vegetarian because of ethical reasons. It was more so because of what they pump meat with, the hormones, all the additives and things like that. So I try and eat as best as what I can, but I always really do look at what I'm putting into my body.
That's why I try and buy the family packs from the butchers up the road and chuck it in the freezer. So I've got stuff in the freezer rather from the supermarket. So, yeah, I think It's a weird one. I don't know how the quality is from a butcher. Maybe it's got to be better. I like to think so. But the stuff from the supermarket, as soon as you start to cook it, it shrinks. There's loads of water coming out of it. It's packed in a atmospheric controlled place. You know, the food's probably travelled thousands of miles across the planet somewhere or whatever. You know, so who knows what's going into that. I've tried veganism a little bit myself. I've tried reducing my meat intake and just having lots of veg before. I've tried all kinds of things myself. But more recently, I've tried, some people call it the keto diet. And that kind of made me feel a little bit better as well, actually, which is kind of strange. But tap water, I think a lot more people now are drinking bottled water. I know I do. I can't. But my tap water, where I put my toothbrush, I started noticing where I live after a little while when I first moved there was like this weird kind of brown sort of scum, because obviously my toothbrush is wet. I put it in the pot and it was like, that's not right. And I'm drinking that water. And and as soon as I stop drinking that water, call it psychological, whatever, I actually feel better not drinking my tap water.
I think I say this to people in classes, when you look in your kettle, the things, especially being in our area, the chalkiness, when you look at the top of the kettle and it's all the lime scale and the chalk, or even on like your shower screen, that stuff is staying in your body when you drink it.
Probably.
It all comes, it's all pipes, all into, and people will say to me about drinking bottled water, which I don't tend to drink all the time. But there are small plastics in the plastic bottle, but there are small plastics in your tap. Yeah. If you actually, and my friend, she's just written a book actually called Smarty Guts, and she delves deep into actually what is being pumped into our foods and drinks, like something as simple as tap water that you need that to survive is full of chemicals.
Smarty Guts. I wanted to say, because with the water thing as well, actually I don't know if bottled water is 100% better, but I feel it's better. But when I lived in Ibiza, the house that I was renting, the water was pumped directly out of the hole in the floor through a plastic pipe, and it was the best water I'd ever drank. And it was just literally straight out of the ground through a dirty old plastic pipe, and that seemed to be fine, which I know was a plastic pipe, but I don't think it wore down as much. So what's Smarty Guts? If it's okay to just mention that briefly.
Yes, yeah. She's the critical curriculum on Instagram, and we've always had this shared. So the tap water thing for me has been going on 6-7 years. I've not touched, and I'm so glad now it's kind of like filtering through. But between us, we've always been on this little, not crusade, but of really researching what we're eating, what we're drinking, because it's what you put in your body is fueling you. So if you are constantly putting in processed fake food, lots of sugar, lots of insulin spiking food, I'm going to go back to school again. It really frustrates me, and I've had several heated conversations with management when kids, young people, never call them kids, turn up and they're independently now buying food. They're going to go for the crap that looks good, the pizzas, the pretzels, the pancakes, and then they're being asked to sit down for 2 hours and they can't control anything. They can't control their behaviour or their mood, or they can't learn because, now they're high on crap food, and that's what we're feeding them from a young age, and then they do that again at break and lunch. And I think we just got to strip it all back. And we're moaned at, myself and my friend, for not being the ones that push cake and sweets and things on our children. But then you could see someone taking their kids to McDonald's and no one bats an eyelid, which I'm not saying you can't do those things, but you are more productive, you're more filled with energy when you eat well and you move your body. But you will then feel like you don't have the energy to do those things if you're not eating the right fuel. If that makes sense.
100%. as you know, I drive coaches. So when I take school trips, even the long distance ones that I do, they don't always have to be long distance. So we put plastic bags. It's one of the downfalls about the industry that I work in that I'm not a fan of, is we put plastic carrier bags out so that they can put rubbish if they're eating on the coach. And then I end up at the end of the day with all these plastic bags that go into a big skip, and God knows where that goes afterwards, because I like to recycle and try to not pollute the planet as much as I can. But the amount of crap that the kids are eating that are in those plastic bags, sweets and, all these Haribos and Micados and Pringles and the fizzy drinks, it's endless. I'm taking off huge amounts of waste from this coach of all of this unhealthy crap. And so actually, when you go abroad, when you go to France and Germany, their service stations are quite good in some cases. Ours are getting a little bit better in places, and you can buy really nice salads of all kinds, of different kind of salads, pasta salads and that kind of stuff. And that's what I'll buy. And I see the kids looking at me as if saying, what are you eating that for? Because this is better than what you're eating. Do you know what I mean? So it's really, I don't know how we're ever going to tackle that, but the kids just love to fill up on all of this crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's that because your body and your mind is addicted to the sugar.
Oh yeah.
When does anyone ever get addicted to apples or addicted to carrots? You don't, because your body doesn't. There's nothing to be addicted to. It's the sugar, and you're like, oh, I need that, and it's the spikes up and down, up and down. Same with with coffee. I really try to. I don't wake up and think, I need that to fuel my day. I think if you wake up and you think, I need to have a coffee, or maybe people just smoke, things like that. If you wake up and you need a chemical to start your day, that's something where I feel like
I need to cut out coffee.
You've got to start there.
I feel like coffee makes me crash.
But we had a matcha the other day, didn't we? And that,
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, matcha's like a slow releasing caffeine and doesn't spike. Yeah. So there's always like something different that you can do. I mean, I've wasted probably thousands of pounds on organic food, which it's not organic. So I've stopped buying organic now. It's, you can't believe everything,
I always wondered about, people said it's organically grown. Yeah, they might not use any pesticides, but how many growth chemicals are used? Because it's called a food as well. So organic was, I think it was a way to promote this kind of growing that just didn't have any pesticides or any sprays over it. So it was organic, good for the environment. But was it organic in the sense that it was grown without growth foods?
Yeah.
Which still technically processed chemicals to grow that thing to what it is.
And then it's beyond that. How is it kept? How is it stored? How is it transported? So you've just got no idea. But with everything else, you just have to do what's right for you. The best options for the price that you can afford. It's so, it's expensive to, sometimes it puts people off. But even with diets, don't think of it as a diet. Think of what's the best fuel for me. So a keto diet might work for you, but it might not work for me, because our bodies are completely different. We've got different jobs, different tasks that we do throughout the day. So never think about your body like appearance. That's what I always try to give to people. Always think about, how do I want to feel? Think about your mind first, and your body will follow. So if you're fueling right in your mind, and that is not just with food and drink and things like that, it's the way you talk to yourself, your mindset, the narrative that you have with yourself every single day. Look after those things, and then everything else will just follow.
I like it. What time are we on, Alf? Oh, we've gone over the hour mark. I like it. I think we could still go. I still didn't even talk about ecstatic dance, which was a conversation we talked about the other day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we did that. That didn't take me 10 minutes, though. Jesus. There's a few spaces in Dover that I'd love to recommend to you that you could, because you would do sound baths as well, which I've been to a few sound baths and I absolutely love them if they're in the right spaces. I've been to some places where the space doesn't resonate the sound very well, you know. I've also been to a church in Folkestone, which was a great space for a sound bath, but there's pews everywhere, so you can't lay down, because laying down is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And it would be great if you could bring your sound bath technician over to a couple of spaces in Dover. It would be really good if you could maybe, it would be good.
I'm very fortunate. I work with the most amazing women who are, you know, all like-minded, like myself. It's just that they want everyone to feel connected to what they're doing. Space-wise, when I deliver something, and this is why I created Muse, it is very sensory considered, Muse. So the lights, the sound, the smells, all of that. And that is, you know, sort of selfishly, because for me, that's the kind of thing that I couldn't go to a regular yoga class anywhere else, because anytime I did, like you said earlier about the class that you went to, the environment changes everything. And if it needs to be a dedicated space to why you're going there. But because I know how important that is to me, all the sensory elements, I know that that is important to everyone else, even if they're not aware of it. So the studio is located behind a garage, but when you walk in, most people say it's a bit like, you know, walking into somewhere in Bali. You would never know where you are.
It's good.
It's just about how you feel when you go in.
If do you know or have you seen my sister-in-law Emily Payne? Probably just said her name wrong. Yeah, Hannah Payne. Do you know? Have you seen her and the events that she's been putting on? She's got the Tipsy trailer. She's now doing Farthing Low events. So she would like to do a holistic kind of festival. So give her a follow. Everyone else, give her a follow as well. Keep an eye on what she's doing. She's trying to do great things for Dover. But obviously, she'd be a great contact for you to bring what you're doing to Dover as well. I think that would be really good. Is there anything you'd like to talk about? Is there anything we've missed? I think we can keep talk for 2 or 3 hours, Alf, right, with everyone, but... You know.
I guess the only thing I haven't really talked about is Pilates and why I love it so much. But, you know, just a very brief rundown. Pilates is for everyone. So whether you're male, female, your body is injured, or you're older, younger, you play football, you're a boxer, you're a hairdresser, you're a coach driver, it helps build your strength from the inside. So you can continue doing whatever role it is, because your body is strong from the inside.
Even a hairdresser?
100%, because you're on your feet all day, aren't you? So you don't want your career to be limited because of any back conditions. Like my back, the health of my back would be a lot less now. You know, my mobility, you know, as you get older, your mobility can lessen. I don't want that to be the case for me. So strengthening the core, seeing how the people that come to my classes transform their own lives because of they've dedicated time to movement and, you know, the different things that I offer, but they do it. And then just seeing and hearing from them how it's changed their life is just the best part for me.
I actually prefer Pilates more than yoga because it's kind of also a workout as well as the yoga element to it. Yeah. So I can agree. I can say, Pilates is definitely cooler. Yeah. They're both cool.
It is just whatever fits you and your body and your time. So sometimes people will find yoga a bit too slow. If you're standing in a pose for any length of time, your mind can begin to wander. In my classes, it's a little bit more fast paced, so I don't give you the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Pilates, and I just feel like it is open to everyone, and don't let any barriers stop you from coming along. I have guys that come to my class and they've really helped build the community as well.
We didn't really even talk about men.
I know, it's like one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about, but men feeling like there's a barrier, please just think to yourself, you know, there's not going to be one person that ever would turn you away. Just come along, and what's the worst that could happen?
Lose the judgment feeling. Yeah, fair enough. It's even like I like to dance. Yeah, you'll see me in there, haven't you? You know, I love to dance. You know, it's not a manly thing to not dance. I didn't have to put the voice on then or whatever. And it's the same with yoga or Pilates. Yeah, you're doing these slow moves and stretching and something that maybe you're not used to and comfortable with doing, but it's good for you.
Yeah.
It's really good for you. And well, with the growth of calisthenics now as well, and there's someone I started recently following on Instagram called Leo Moves, which is quite good. I'm going to try and start to incorporate some of his things when I'm in hotels. Some of the hotels I stay in, there's no gym nearby or anything like that, and I do some movements. I'm not as fit and healthy as I used to be. But yeah, movement exercise is I think I took the mind class at the Pure Gym because they were doing this like £10 join up fee, and I thought, oh, I'll join that and see if the classes are any good because it was like cheap. And I took my neighbour who hasn't done yoga before or anything like that, and he was like, yeah, this is really good. I was like, well, yeah, you know, maybe you should do some more yoga or Pilates or some kind of stuff like that as well. So he said, yeah, he might get a bit more into that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. For Pilates, all you need, if you're in a hotel room, just put a towel on the floor, just put YouTube on, or, you know, find someone that you can follow online, and it's easy. Just, you don't need any space or any equipment. You don't need any time. Like I said, if you've got 3 minutes, you can stretch your body. You can talk to yourself in a way that is going to give you the best day. Like positive affirmations is something I harp on about all the time. But the way that you talk to yourself, you have a conversation with yourself all the time, whether that's positive or negative, but you are creating your own reality by those thoughts that you have to yourself. I can't do this, or business is hard, I won't open a business, and Dover, there's nothing to do. Like these things that we were talking about the other day. Change that. Like, yes, business is tough, but I'm so ready for it. There's loads of things to do in my town. I just need to find it. I feel really great about myself today.
Good.
But you say that to yourself and you repeat it to yourself. That will start happening.
Because this is the start of what we're doing. You know, we've introduced you, talked about what you've been doing and what you've done, how you got there. So it'd be great to have you back again to focus more on, like you said, you want to talk a bit more about Pilates and a couple of these subjects, because I've realised like it's all kind of like we're discussing loads of different things, but people have found it interesting so far. So it would be great to still have you to come back and talk about some of these subjects in more detail, because I didn't even get to talk about Alan Watts, which I wanted to talk about as well. Yeah. There's so many more things, and we're trying to keep it to an hour. And obviously, I don't know if Alf's got anything else to do tonight. Just keep going, just keep rolling it on.
Yeah, no, I'd love to.
Yeah. It's been absolutely great having you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking me, honestly. And especially I've watched the other episodes and genuinely loved hearing people's stories. So.
Well, you're part of the pioneering, thing that we're trying to do. So you're helping us as well, because we're gonna upload it. We're gonna tag you in, so all your followers are obviously gonna, hopefully, not all of them, but your followers are gonna listen to us as well and hopefully share that. Yeah. So equally, you're helping us as much as I hope that this might help you as well.
Yeah, the community.
The community.
Community, always.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.